Hi, my name is Natalie Short. I'm a junior at Mount St. Mary Academy, and my primary inquiry project was on the hero Achilles. I chose Achilles because I figured he was a pretty well-known Greek hero, so there would be a lot of information on him, and it would be easy to find the answers to my research questions. So I first looked at a couple of books about Achilles that my teacher and librarian suggested for me to get kind of a background story about his life and to look at some art in there. But to find the actual pot pieces that I chose, I looked online in the databases that my teacher gave me. So once I found my two pots, I used online databases and books, again from the library, to answer my research questions. So my first pot is one of Odysseus coming to talk to Achilles. And so I read the background story, and it told me that this was one of my research questions. So I asked, why does Achilles seem distressed? But this was because I already read the books about the background of this story, so I knew that there would be information about this question. And on a website that I looked at, it said that Achilles is upset because his concubine Briseis was taken from him by Agamemnon, another Greek king in the Trojan War. So Achilles felt that his honor had been compromised. So why did Odysseus come to talk to Achilles? Odysseus is coming to try to convince Achilles to rejoin the war against the Trojans because Achilles was the greatest Greek warrior. That was also on one of the main databases that our teacher gave us. And then this about Odysseus, I thought it was interesting that Odysseus had a beard and Achilles didn't. And I figured that since Odysseus was sent to talk to Achilles, he would have some kind of position of power or influence, so I thought maybe he could be older. So I asked, can we assume that Odysseus is older than Achilles because he's represented with facial hair? And this really interesting website I found talks all about facial hair and what it meant to the ancient Greeks, and it said that one source specifically states that yes, a beard represents maturity, and the lack of a beard signifies a younger or more immature man. However, many other sources also state that a beard in Greek art symbolizes masculinity and wisdom, and that a Greek man would have shaved his beard as a sign of grief. This would fit both of my pieces because in this one, Achilles could be mourning the loss of his concubine and thus his honor, while in the other piece, which I'll show you later, he could be mourning the injury of his friend Patroclus and the impending death of Patroclus. Or, it could just be another symbolization that Achilles is younger and maybe more immature than all the others. So that was my first document. Some questions that I thought about, some research questions for this pot that I didn't use. I asked what this object was in the lower left-hand corner, but I didn't use it because it was pretty obviously a helmet, and there wasn't, it was hard to find an answer for that specific question. I asked, is there significance in the border surrounding the pot, but my teacher said it didn't have too much of an importance and I couldn't find any information on it anyway. And that's it. So the three questions here that I used were some of my original questions that actually worked. So my second pot is a picture of Achilles bandaging the injury of his friend Patroclus, who went into battle for Achilles and was wounded as a result. So this is after, I think this pot is after in chronological order, after my first pot. So Odysseus came to Achilles, and then Patroclus went out when Achilles still refused to fight and took his place. So what was the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus? And I knew this would be a good question because, again, of my research in the books, and I saw this was a disputed topic. So on these I got from two or three different books. So Achilles and Patroclus are very good friends, which is exemplified by Patroclus' willingness to go into battle dressed as Achilles, when Achilles offers this as an alternative to him actually fighting, and by Achilles' deep grief over Patroclus' death and his murderous endeavors for revenge. However, the Greek playwright Aeschylus wrote Achilles and Patroclus as lovers. So it kind of shows the two different sides and to the story, that they were just very good friends or that they were lovers. But either way, Achilles obviously cared about Patroclus, so that's going to have a big impact on Achilles' decision to avenge Patroclus. This was an interesting question that I asked because I found the information. So why are the eyes of Achilles and Patroclus drawn so largely and realistically? It was to add emotion to the scene. That's from one of the main databases that my teacher gave me. A lot of these are actually from the Tufts database. So I asked also what's on his head. This was a question I had before I researched it, so this wasn't one of those that I just put the question in because I found information on it. Just a cap that the Greeks wore to protect their heads from their helmets. Why? And I was confused about this because I didn't know what it was, and I thought it looked like an arrow without a head. So the Perseus website again speculates that this arrow was what wounded Patroclus, and so the head of the arrow has been removed from his arm. What is this round object down here that Patroclus is sitting on? Patroclus' shield, again from Tufts. And is this Patroclus' death wound? Because in some of the books, we know it made it seem like Patroclus died on the field, but this pot obviously shows a different story because he's with Achilles getting his arm bandaged. So I was wondering if this is the wound that actually killed him. So it's unclear whether Achilles was just bandaging a war wound for Patroclus or if this scene depicts the actual wound that Patroclus died from. However, this source seems to suggest that Patroclus was killed on the battlefield because it states that Hector killed Patroclus. So I was just a little confused about maybe like the time discrepancy there, but not a lot of sources took a strong stance on what it was. So those were the questions that I used, and I ignored my original question, why isn't Patroclus wearing a helmet, because it didn't seem like a very good question that I could find a lot of information on. Like, I don't know, he probably just took it off because he's not in battle. He's in a lot of pain. I also had why does Patroclus have facial hair, but I couldn't find anything for this particular pot on Patroclus. Why? And then I also asked what is this hook-shaped object under Patroclus' foot, but I couldn't find any information on that either, so I also disregarded that question. But other than those, I kept all these questions, and these were the original that I was able to find information on. So overall, I really liked doing this project because ThingLink was really easy to use, and it was kind of fun to look at all the different points and put in all the information right on where they correspond to the pot. And it was really interesting to find certain pieces of information about the pots, like especially about the beards was really interesting, something I never knew about Greek history before, or Greek representation in art. So that was pretty cool, and it was also fun to just learn the story of Achilles and Patroclus. And it was really easy to do all the research. The databases were really clear. They gave me good images for the pots. The books were also pretty clear. They had the stories that I was looking for with the relationships of Achilles and Patroclus and Achilles and Odysseus. So overall, it was pretty easy, but I got a lot of things done, which is good. And I got a lot of information down, but I didn't have to, wrestle with databases or a different kind of PowerPoint or way to present it. So ThingLink was great, really easy to use. So thank you for listening to my project. Have a great day.